So in patch 3.11, we've got the Bearing GP33 coming, which is the first grenade launcher that we've done. What excites me most about the grenade launcher is how versatile it can be. You'll be able to take this, straight into a ship corridor and blow a bunch of people up in there. And you'll even be able to take it out into the wide open spaces on planet surfaces, and if you're good enough, still be able to hit and do a bunch of damage to people. So adding new damage types or delivery systems into Star Citizen is purely to link in with a long-term goal, and that goal is to provide people with as much choice as possible in the way that they like to play the game. So the grenade launcher is a very different weapon compared to what we've got in game at the moment, and therefore it will suit an entirely different style of play. Right now, most of our weapons, we've either got like one end of the spectrum, which is the missile launcher, or the railgun, which are like super heavy ordnance weapons, and then we've kind of got our more traditional ballistic and energy weapons that fire like very fast moving projectiles. So the main challenge with the grenade launcher is really getting the balance right. Just because it is an explosive weapon, it's very easy for it to go one way or the other if it's far too good or it's not good enough to use, basically. So we've compared that with a normal grenade, which we've had a couple of bouncing problems with in the past. Like sometimes the kill radius on that was far too big, and the damage radius on it beyond that was too small. So we've actually revisited that, got that feeling a lot better, and then we based this grenade launcher and the damages these propelled grenades actually do off that. And initially they were one-to-one the same, and we found that it was far too powerful because the radius on the explosion was far too big for something that you could fire so quickly and had so much ammo for. So we reduced that in a little bit, and we extended the damage radius so you're still able to damage people, and we've got it feeling quite good. And playtests within Theatres of War has helped us tune this a lot. We've had a few playtests in the map, and it's really kind of demonstrated how on our shooting range we initially tune things, and sometimes that's at closer ranges. So when we've actually got a much more open area to fire at people, where people are behind cover, they're like 50 to 100 meters to 200 meters away, and you're trying to hit them with a weapon, it really starts kind of like calling out the situations that people are seeing more often in the PU, on planets especially. So it's really helped us push out the ranges of a lot of our weapons, and the grenade launchers included there. So where we're at right now, the weapon is essentially fully functional. All of the feature work is done. We're still awaiting some of the content to come in, like final audio, final animations, as it kind of goes through to the end of the content pipeline. And obviously I can't wait to see what the backers actually do with this thing, from like 100 meter plus skill shots on people to accidentally killing themselves when trying to take a bunch of people out in corridors.
Continuing to expand the various weapon types is just one more way the content and feature teams are working to provide more player agency for Star Citizens as they choose how to make their way through the persistent universe. And you can bet the work won't stop with either last quarter's Electron weapons or the upcoming grenade launcher in Alpha 3.11. But up next, it's time for another sprint report, so let's get to it. In the first of two lighting updates this week, one of the existing challenges of our current particle lighting model is that the particles can get very bright depending on the lighting situation, far brighter than they should be in real life. And that's why the graphics and VFX teams have been working together to move the existing particle lighting model closer to a physically based rendering one. Yep, PBR is coming for particles too. This new systemic solution will ensure that particles are no longer brighter than the light source that hits them, and as an added bonus, will not only look better, but will save VFX artists time when they no longer have to manually balance the particle brightness in each scene, because every particle will now simply work in all the various lighting situations throughout the persistent universe. Better looking and less work. Remember that, we're going to come back to it again later. Additionally, the work of updating the day and night cycle looks for existing landing zones continues with L19 in Lorville, and a recently completed sprint exploring the effort to get those massive security towers up above to search for troublemakers and security risks to Hurston's prosperity down below. It's a small touch, but it's one more way the lighting team is working to give each landing zone its own distinct look and personality, not just between themselves, but within their own days and nights. Each quarter, the vehicle content team is converting more and more ships to the use of our updated hard surface shader. Now, this conversion is essential to implement not only the wear and tear that will occur from the continued use of your spacecraft, but the eventual addition of new paint schemes and liveries that will bring much color to the verse. The examples you see here are just common development themes used for testing purposes, but we're going to keep an eye out for the paints that will reach in-game shops in future updates. Up next is Better Looking and Less Work Part 2. Now, you may have heard about recent improvements to the Organics painting tool that looks to continue advancing the tech our artists use to populate Star Citizen's planets and moons. And here we've got sample images showing the repainting of existing locations in Stanton. Now, as you can see, the updated painting tool has a greater range of variation in assets and overall provides a more interesting combination between rock and brush and tree and color and everything else that can dot a planet's surface. As with previous updates, the new tool doesn't just get us a better looking brush of terrain, it's also faster and more efficient to use than ever before. Important advancements necessary to finish off the planets and moons of the upcoming Pyro system and beyond. Up in space, teams are finishing up work on the cargo deck exteriors ahead of their intended inclusion in the upcoming Alpha 311. Now, we'll hear specifics about the what and the how and the why in a dedicated segment here in the coming weeks. But these things just look so cool, we wanted to squeeze a few of them in here this week. Now, not only are there multiple variations to go along with the multiple stations that are populated throughout the Stanton system, take special note of the colored cargo containers sprinkled within. Discussions are currently underway now to explore parity of metric and function with the same kinds of containers players will one day carry on their Hull series spacecraft. And while we're talking space stations, it's been a while. You didn't think we'd forgotten about docking, did you? So let's take a look now at some concepts currently being explored for ship-to-station docking. The team recently completed a sprint exploring potential options for extendable docking arms that can be used to allow spacecraft that are maybe a little too big to fit on landing pads or inside hangars safe traversal between vehicle and hangar. Now, as it's said every time we show concepts, and this will be no exception, these are explorations of idea and theme used not only to identify the direction we want to move in, but also to determine those we do not just as well. Now, a bit beyond the normal concept is this animatic that's being used to further explore the visual intent this particular approach was going for. Now, as this bridge extends out, the idea here is to avoid something that seemed too structurally sound, while at the same time avoiding the sense that you were merely just walking through a catwalk exposed to the void around you and could easily be knocked out by some kicked up space dust. This extendable concept would also have buffer arms at the end designed to absorb impact and a second stage connecting collar to make that final seal to the newly arrived ship. It's basically a two-stage soft dock and hard seal kind of deal this concept is going for. As with most things in the Star Citizen universe, when the various other disciplines like lighting, VFX, sound, and dialogue and more come into play, it's easy to imagine how a relatively mundane task like ship docking can become a rich and cinematic experience when all is said and done. Finally, with some time left at the end of their sprint and not content merely with an impressive animatic, the team went ahead and brought this concept mesh directly into Engine to better gauge what this option might look like expanding out from an existing station while validating the distances that are being discussed. What you're seeing here is the exact same thing our developers saw when they first brought this concept in, and it's safe to say it got a lot of our team members excited about the possibilities of ship-to-station docking in Star Citizen's future. You can just about see the advertisements along the wall. Does Stanton have a salt lick? No? Texans will know what I'm talking about. So what did we learn about this week? Well, we learned that new weapon types like grenade launchers are about more than just blowing people up. They're about providing more choice for players when they go into combat. That when building a game of Star Citizen's size and scope, It's not enough to make tech that just looks better. You need systems that make work faster to go with them. And that sometimes a concept is little more than a series of thumbnail sketches, and other times they're impressive animatics you import into Engine and walk around to check the scale. They're both good. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you next week.